Hattrick Life podcast.
Hello, Hattrick friends and listeners of the Hattrick Life podcast. It's been nearly a year and a half since the last episode, so I'm very pleased to introduce Tiuan27 as the guest in episode 5 of the Hattrick Life podcast. Tiuan is from Switzerland and he offers what you could call a newcomer perspective to Hattrick. He has played before, but it's been a long time since he actually played. And we'll talk about how he approaches the game and what he has observed as a fairly new player to the game. So without further ado, let's get episode 5 rolling. I hope you guys enjoy it. Welcome Tiuan27 from Switzerland to this talk about Hattrick Life. It's been a while since the last recording. I always like to start asking people, where did you find Hattrick in the first place?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here. And it's a very good question, actually. I don't remember all the details, but this is a long time ago. I think this must be early 2000s, maybe 2003, 2004-ish, when I was in high school. And one of the breaks that we had, I went to the library, as usual, to play some browser games. And then as I was there sitting at the computers, I saw one of the guys next to me playing this game where there were like players. It looked like a football pitch and they had stars and everything. And I was very intrigued. And so I asked him what it was about. And he told me that it's Hattrick and how it works roughly. And I think this is how I got into it in the first place. And then I think I played for a few years back then. I would say very differently from how I play now, right? I didn't really have a clue. I was just there for the stars on the weekend, like the player has half a star more now. The dopamine hit, I will never forget that. And then all the discussions we had with friends, because we ended up being a group of friends. Most of us actually played football together in a team as well. And I remember after every single training, before we went home, we would discuss for like 20, 30 minutes about the recent training update and the form and injury and everything. Those were really, really good times. Yeah, so this is how I first found Hattrick.
Okay, but you say early 2000s, that's quite a while ago. I mean, I'm presenting you as a newcomer here. So you kind of said you didn't have a clue. So do you have a clue nowadays?
Well, I don't know. I think a little bit more. Well, at least I did read a little bit more about, the strategy and how teams that want to be competitive are set up with the golden generations and the cycles and all of that. So I think my approach has changed quite a bit. It's more of like a bit of an optimization, mindset, while hopefully still having a lot of fun. But there's actually a lot to talk about there with the trade-off between optimization and fun that we'll probably get to a little bit later. But yet the second time I got into Hattrick, and this is why I actually am a newcomer, was only a little bit more than half a year ago. It was in January 2025. So there was a big break in between the two. And it was really just a day where I had some nostalgia. And I remembered the feeling of playing Hattrick. And it just happened to be a Saturday morning before like the first day of the season. So it was a perfect time to sign up. And yeah, then I signed up. And after that, I Googled a little bit to understand how is it working now? Like, what do I do? And this is actually also how I found some of your content, which really helped me sort of get a feel for the game again, and get a sense for what should I train in the beginning, for instance. Those kinds of things.
All right. So as I hear, getting an actual idea what it takes to play the game in 2025. But I mean, that has also changed since those days back in high school, because you could actually play less optimized back then, because the core of the remaining people, those people playing back then, still play and are quite old, if I have to say it. They play in a different way than they did back then as well. I'm looking forward to hear more about that. as we get deeper into the questions.
Yeah.
Let's start a little more simple here. What's the story behind your nickname and team names?
Yeah, so my nickname, this is actually a funny one. I think your question about this, you asked me this a little bit before already, and this prompted me to go and look up what T1 actually is, because I realized that this was a nickname that some friends gave me, or like one specific friend gave me also during high school. It was around the same time. And he just called me T1. And some other people started calling me T1. My real name is Tobias. So I think the T is sort of the how it is similar, right? And I just accepted it and went with it, but never really fully understood where it came from. So now I actually asked ChatGPT because it was actually hard to find out otherwise, right? I'm not in touch anymore with this person. And ChatGPT told me that there was a Terminator movie and there is a T1 Terminator in one of those movies. And it was actually released around the same time, right? So I think this is probably what it is. And I do have a vague memory that he said it is something about a movie character or something, right? So I think it is probably from the Terminator movie, which I have never seen.
Oh, but you could also be called T1000. That's the liquid Terminator in the second movie. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, I know nothing about the Terminator
movie. Wow. I mean, I'll tell you what, the way it was made back then, the CGI, not all of it is CGI. It was just like mind-blowing. How on earth did they make that effect?
Right.
Because that's actually crazy. That's one of the more mind-blowing effects of that movie. That's the T1000 in the second Terminator movie. All right, pretty cool. What about your team names?
Yeah, I think Team Scream, honestly, was, if I remember correctly, this was the name of my first team. It was definitely the name of a Hattrick team that I had. I think it is the name of the first team. And you can really see the creativity of like a 13 or 14-year-old there who barely has a grasp of the English language, makes the simplest rhyme. But again, like, I think out of nostalgia and because, it came to mind when I opened Hattrick again in 2025. I was like, let's stick with it. So that's the Team Scream name. And then I have two other teams. One is Dynamo Sirius Wiese. And this is a play on a place that is close to where I live, where there is a small little football pitch and there's kids playing. Sometimes I go there and play with my girlfriend as well. So this is sort of a local thing. And then the last one is the Guinean team that I have. And there I actually did like 2 days of research, on Google. I first wanted to understand a little bit about Guinea as a country. I had no clue about it. And it felt wrong to just open a team without having any kind of idea what the country is like. And as I was doing a little bit of research in quotation marks on Guinea, I found this place, Samaya, which is a really beautiful lake. I actually just found it on Google Maps. And so I decided to call the team Samaya Sundowns. That's the backstory there.
But I mean, it's nice with a few different approaches in that regard. I myself all my teams are connected to the place I grew up as a kid. Yeah, I mean, I really like and understand that approach. And I think it's one of the more common themes of Hattrick managers, trying to be nostalgic about your origins. I would definitely say I've seen that pattern a lot. I like giving a nod to your childhood like that, places you used to go.
Yeah, I actually found very randomly, I found a former friend of mine on Hattrick. I don't have any of my close friends nowadays. They don't play Hattrick. But as I was just like browsing and going through some of the leagues, I found this team. And I was like, this is the name of a football team that is it was like not in the proper official competition in Switzerland, but like we call it an alternative league team. And it was the name of this team. And I used to play in this team. And I was like, no way.
That's cool.
He has a team with this name. So I messaged and I saw his username. And I was like, I know who this is. So I messaged and we got back in touch and exchanged a few messages. And obviously by now he is a father, has 2 kids. And, it was so nice to have a bit of an exchange there again.
Oh, yeah. That sounds awesome. I used to play with a few of my real life friends as well. And I think a few of those guys actually have returned and play a little. We used to have get-togethers at the end of the season, doing some barbecuing and having a few beers and stuff. But I also had this experience of this guy living relatively close to where I used to grow up. And he was like, should we get together once and see if we can find a few other local users to have a few beers and follow some games? And it hasn't materialized yet. We might do something at some point. He's an old school manager as well, and he's been playing for a long time, so that would definitely be cool.
Yeah, I think this is really nice. It's a great way to get people together through the game, or like back together actually, that haven't been in touch, which that's very cool. The guy that I found actually turns out to have been one of the coaches, I think as one of the assistant coaches when Switzerland won the World Championship, I think. I think
in Hattrick, of course. Yeah, I'm also yeah, okay. Nice.
Who cares about real football?
Real football? This is the real football.
Yeah. So I think this must have been like 10 years ago or so. And he actually sent me a newspaper article where this was covered. There was an interview and he was mentioned in the interview.
Oh, I did actually see when the Czech Republic won a few seasons ago. I think it was the Under-21s World Cup. I could be wrong on that. But they actually had an article in a gamers magazine, cool. You would have seen 20 years ago or something. But they actually had a surge in new users from this article. So nice. Yeah. The old world still works.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's nice.
Fresh eyes are actually often quite nice in order to spot something that people, part of the established norm within a game, might not see or might not recognize. Have you seen anything interesting as a quotation mark newcomer in Hattrick that perhaps doesn't make sense?
Yeah.
Or maybe a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of things that make a lot of sense. I'll focus on the few things that are a little bit frustrating at times to me. But I also want to say I'm still very new, right? I'm like, what is it now? 9 months in. So take this with a grain of salt. We'll see what my opinion is in like a year or 2 years or so. But as someone that got into the game again recently and then was trying to figure out, so how, if I think with one of my teams at least, I would like to be as competitive as possible, right?
As soon as possible?
No, just I think I would like to try to have a shot at winning the top division.
All right.
However long that takes, right? And then with the other teams, I am more open to doing stuff that is more a little bit experimental or just fun, having an all Guinean team, for instance, or just supporting a national team or whatever. All kinds of things that I can imagine doing. But with one of the teams, I want to try to to get to the top league and actually have a shot, ideally, at winning it. And then as I was doing a little bit of research, I understood that, you kind of have to do one of these golden generation cycles if you want to have a shot, at least in the big countries. And I think I have no problem with that taking 4, 5, or 6 years, real life years, including the sort of profit making phase before the cycle. Mm-hmm. I actually think this is an asset of Hattrick, the fact that it takes quite a while and there are not games every other day. I really like the slow pace. I just want to clarify this because this sometimes gets mixed up. It's really not about the pace. What I am a little bit frustrated with, however, is the prospect of once I start my cycle, because of the way that training is linked to formation, I basically have to sacrifice any competitiveness for multiple real life years, right? Or at least this is what I understand. I haven't actually done the cycle yet, right? But from reading up on it, it looks like this. And I think, from a game design perspective, this seems suboptimal to me, to say the least. Actually playing the game and wanting to win the game is the key mechanic for me, right? I want to have fun and maybe even watch the game and be excited about the score. But I will probably for 2 or even 3 years just basically sack the game because of the way I have to set up the formation and the players out of position so they get their B skills trained, etc. So this to me, I mean, they are kind of obviously making up for this by letting you have multiple teams. So maybe there's always one that is more exciting than the others, and it makes it a little bit less frustrating. But yeah, I still think this is something probably like the main frustration for me. And this is without even having started the cycle yet, right?
Yeah, but I get you also get the fact that if you save up a lot of money now and you start your cycle and you make a mistake, you can't even go on but when you already grasp that concept that you have to save for so long, it's also nerve-wracking, right? Okay, I'm starting and I could be making mistakes. One thing that is hard to grasp for newcomers, if I'm thinking about it, is the fact that the game wasn't designed this way. So it's not a design choice from the creators of Hattrick. You have to remember one thing about Hattrick is this game was conceived in 97. And I am not kidding you. They were sending in squad orders and transfer orders by mail the first few seasons.
Oh my God, wow.
So it's also, you have like perhaps a core game design based on you train during the 2 matches of the week. And the way the pyramid is, it's just naturally going to be extremely hard towards the top. But it wasn't like that for a very long time. So this golden generation concept thing is simply because all managers are playing more and more extreme. And if you think about it, okay, so the most seasoned veterans of this game, they've perhaps played 22, 23, 24 years, and they've been through a lot of cycles. Why wouldn't they go hard if they are still here 24 years later? So it's also a consequence of how people actually play the game. It's not the game, it's the players. That's also a thing that people... Yeah, I mean, how could you possibly understand it if you come from, say, playing Football Manager?
Right.
And now I just want to take over like a top team and I want to try to win the championship. Yeah, but the fact of the matter is you do not take over a top team. You take over a completely undeveloped team with no fan club, no money, no nothing. And you're playing against other human managers with a lot of seasons, like perhaps 75 seasons of play, and they have been through cycles so many times, and they're playing an extreme level, like they're burning the candle in both ends. They're burning everything in order to go to the top. And that's frustrating, but it's also fascinating.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with the concept of a cycle or with the fact that in order to really have a shot at winning the top league, you actually have to sacrifice everything. I think this is fine because it's almost impossible to design it differently because you just have too many managers who want to win it and there's only one top spot, right? So it kind of, you have to have a system where you sacrifice everything. You have to have mechanisms for teams to drop out of the top divisions at some point, and not like sort of this being a self-reinforcing thing where success feeds success, right? So I totally get that you have to sacrifice and you maybe only have 1 or 2 seasons or so to win the top division and you have a lead up of 4 to 5 real life years. This to me actually totally fine. I think it's really more about how the journey to get there is designed, or like how on the way to get there, you cannot play the like main mechanic of the game. But I understand if you, by sacrificing everything, you mean you also sacrifice actually playing the game for 2 to 3 years, you know? Then, yeah, I see what you mean. But I think there probably are, and obviously I don't have the solutions, but there probably are better ways of solving this. And I also understand that this is a really, really hard problem. And making any kinds of rule changes in a game as complex as this, with as many users, always has unintended consequences, and it's very risky to make bigger rule changes. So I get why there are no like big changes. But yeah, it's something that I will be following like very curiously. You know, I hope at some point maybe there is a really cool idea that sort of helps a little bit, so people can actually, you know, try to win the games on the weekends, even when they're building for a cycle.
Yeah, I'm thinking I've heard about propositions of like shortening the lifespan of the careers of players, right? So perhaps they could only be competitive until an age of 32, for instance, but that's cutting off one real life year. It might be close to impossible to change some of the core aspects of the game, like a season being 112 days, and the way the training is tied to the matches, because you have to balance things. I have a very good friend who used to play in the top league in Denmark, and he actually quit because he couldn't sustain his team and he was frustrated. And at that point, when he told me, I wasn't actively playing Hattrick, but I asked him, well, you know, if you were able to sustain in the top league, why should I begin if I want to win?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of mechanisms in the game, and I think you can't trade like you used to because players are more extreme. So players outside of Europe actually transfer list according to the European time zone. It wasn't like that when I started playing in high school, like you said, because I could actually find a player in South America, set my alarm in the night, and have a much better chance of getting a good deal because less players would be online at that time because people were listing during the nighttime in Europe. They're not really anymore.
No, it's very rare.
Yeah, and you could actually trade. And back in the days, you didn't actually have to play a player in the squad in order to transfer him again. So you could day trade. You had day traders in Hattrick, right?
I have like a vague memory. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that would be other options if you were willing to do the hard work of trading. You could. Like in Denmark, we had a manager going from the lowest tier directly to the top tier and winning the league one season by one season because he had played before, he knew how to trade, and he just like level 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 champion.
No,
he did
that's
it.
very impressive.
Yeah. But it's not possible anymore. That's what they claim. They claim.
Okay. So this was before the measures that sort of weakened the day trading stuff a little bit.
He was still able to trade when he did that. And it's quite a while ago. Ekvilibristerne, they were called.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's still impressive. I think to wrap this up, maybe, I think for me, the key question is really, are there ways to like work with the link between training and formation in some way that while keeping it balanced, still allowing for a little bit more flexibility in like the team that people are fielding on the weekend? So I think this to me would be, because then this would actually allow you, even during the phase when you are training scoring in your IM cycle, you could maybe still play your players in their actual best position while training their B skills or something like that. I mean, again, I don't have an actual suggestion for how to do it, but I think that it is, for me, the frustration comes from the way the training is linked to the position and the formation, and how it forces you into extreme formations, basically, or like a very small number of formations if you actually want to optimize the training effect. But yeah, again, I have no good answers, and maybe there are no good answers, but it's, as someone that is new, or returning to the game, this is definitely something that I noticed and is like a potential frustration, at least, or makes me a little bit less excited about the prospect of, the next 5 years when I'm actually playing the cycle.
Yeah, 5 years or so. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm 2 years into my cycle now. I wasn't able to wait until my youth players were ready to be promoted. And now I'm 2 years into my cycle. What happened? Still. Yeah. So that was something a bit frustrating about the game as a newcomer 2025. But you're here, and what is still attracting you to play Hattrick with 3 teams 9 months in, even though there are some frustrating elements?
Tons of things. Yeah, I think it would be really interesting to know how it would feel without the nostalgia element, So I do think there is an element there. This is driving partially what I like so much about it, is just recreating that feeling of, on the weekend being curious about the game and the excitement about the form updates and seeing how your opponent is lining up on the weekend, etc. But I think the parts that I like the most are how you are actually able to express your identity through your teams in many different ways, such as through the logo, for instance, through the stadium, the shirts, nicknames for players, the press conferences. I love all of that, and actually I don't use it enough. And I wish more people would use it more, it would create a little bit more like of a vibrant sort of game, I think. But I really enjoy this crafting a narrative around your team and having some sense of identity with each of them, and relating to your players. I don't know, giving them a stupid or funny nickname. These are some of the things that I really love, and they are actually like completely opposite to all of this like optimization stuff, right? This is something completely different, and I really like that this is a part of Hattrick as well.
It reminds me of a Danish manager he was the champion in Denmark. And he also had this ongoing story about one of his players, how he was in a relationship with one of the pop star, like in those TV shows, and how he would mess up whenever his form updates were bad and such. And it was very entertaining. And you did see a lot of managers doing stuff like this. Like the things in between the updates, I like to call it, because there's only one daily update. So what do you do in between? One thing is you try to optimize your team, but what do you do to keep yourself entertained? And that was some of the good things back then, which isn't as common nowadays, because I think probably the average user is a bit more busy than they were 15, 20 years ago. But like I was looking forward to the next press update about his doings in the nightlife. It was good fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think this stuff is exciting, and I did have like a little bit of interaction when I got promoted from like the lowest division with all of the bots to the next one, and they were actual human managers. And I wrote a press conference, and someone commented on it from the same league, and people wished each other luck for the new season. We exchanged one or two thoughts on at least one of the games, and this I really like this. I enjoyed this a lot. Because it is a social game as well at the end of the day. I think if somehow maybe the problem is that the most active users are in the top leagues, so you don't see this as much in the bottom divisions. But I've heard even in the top leagues that there is not so much activity anymore. At least I was browsing a little bit the top Swiss league, and I have read managers writing about that. Maybe it is also just, as you said, people are more busy. Maybe it is also that we are used to more like instant gratification.
Oh yeah, I definitely think so.
we don't have time.
Yeah, and I also think like the opposite thing. Like you see people come up with suggestions how to speed up Hattrick and to do all these sorts of things in order to modernize it. My reaction to most of those things are actually, well, if they choose to do like that, if they choose to go that way, they just become like all the rest of the bunch, and it stops being this unique world. Because when you tell people about the time concept of Hattrick, they're like, okay, but how do you spend so much time on that? And I'm like, I'll tell you.
But you can do other stuff. You don't have to play it all the time, right? And it's actually exciting if it moves a little bit slowly. Every bit of progress becomes a little bit more meaningful over time. I think if you have updates every few hours, you obviously have this rush, this dopamine rush in the beginning, and everything feels very intense. But my personal experience with this, I actually get burnt out by this after a while, or I get so obsessed with it that it's just not sustainable. I can't actually play this much, right? And for me, Hattrick strikes a really nice balance. It allows me to spend some time without forcing me to spend too much of my time. And still all of the progress that happens feels very meaningful, maybe exactly because it is at a fairly slow pace. And then this jump from brilliant to fantastic, it just feels so good, So I really hope Hattrick sticks with the slowness and the general approach to how time works.
Well, I think they are quite adamant in their approach, because I mean there's a reason why this game has been around for almost 30 years now. So there's maybe also a reason why it doesn't have like tons more users, and maybe this is also partially for the same reason, but I think this is fine. Maybe this is the target audience for Hattrick. It's people who enjoy a slightly slower game. I mean, I hope it grows, and I do think there are opportunities for Hattrick to grow, but it doesn't have to be the game that like every other kid plays. I'm fairly certain they have an approach, something like a meaningful user base. It's not just about a big number. It's also about the people who appreciate this kind of game. So sometimes when you think about it, it actually feels a little silly perhaps to be attached to a bunch of pixels in a game. But I remember back in my team in 2003, I bought my first brilliant playmaker. It was an English player. He was called Chris Slater. And I was so psyched to field him in the first league match. And I was like, yes, I got a brilliant player. And then he got a red card after 15 minutes. And I was so frustrated. And I don't know. He's one of my favorite players still because he was miles beyond the rest of my team when I bought him. Mm-hmm. But do you have a favorite player already in Hattrick?
Yeah, I think I actually have at least 3.
All right.
One of them, I think, is one of the guys that was actually already in the team from the beginning. And there's something I really like about his name. His name is Konrad Nettelhorst. It's a really strange name. It sounds kind of funny. And I don't know, I like his picture, and he scores a ton of goals for me. So I'm attached. I'm into this guy.
How old is he?
I think he's actually very young. He was 19 years, I think, at the beginning. And then I gave, how you get one of these free skill ups in the beginning.
Oh.
And so this was before I had made like a proper plan for training, and I didn't yet have like a great sense of what I want to do. So I was like, he seems young, so it's probably smart to give the skill up to a young player, because then if I train him, it's worth even more. I gave it to him. He's a striker. So I think he regularly makes like 7 stars if he's in good form, which is pretty decent. He also got I ended up training wing. And so he's getting some of the passive wing training, which is making him even better as a striker as well, right? But yeah, so this is I think in hindsight, the skill up, maybe it wasn't the ideal one, but I don't care. Yeah, I really love this guy, and he's scoring a lot of goals for me.
I heard actually about this skill up, this mechanic, that no matter how far you've trained the player, right, it will give a full skill.
Yeah, exactly.
So I heard about a goalkeeper popping like a full level from level 15 to 16 or so in a homegrown team. And I mean, the absolute value you get from
because you can save the skill up?
As far as I've heard, yes. So it gives a full level no matter how far you've trained the player.
That is a really clever way of abusing this.
I don't think a lot of people actually did this, but I was linked a performance history page of a player all of a sudden just bumping quite a bit in TSI, and I was like, that's actually not.
That is pretty hilarious.
But I think it has to be one of the starter players. So
yeah, exactly.
You also need a bit of luck if you imagine just bumping like a wing prospect, like instantly could make you 1.5 million euros or something like that, which would be pretty cool in gaining just a boost, right, in that regard. Definitely not intended to be used that way, I think. So, but I mean,
credit to them for understanding that you can exploit it in this way.
Yes. So you got more players, or?
Yeah, I do have more players. One of the other guys is also from the same team, which is the first team, the Team Scream one. And he's, I think, the first transfer that I made that was not a trainee. I decided, I think he was actually to be the future coach, No, he doesn't have good leadership, but passable leadership, because I was poor in the beginning. And he's this, I think when I bought him, he was 33 or so, obviously, so that made him pretty cheap. And he actually is a great hybrid player. It's a pretty unique profile, but he has fairly good he's fairly good as a forward and as a center defender, and he has great standards as well. So I was actually really surprised at how useful this was, being able to field him as a striker in a 2-5-3, but also as a center back in a 3-5-2. And obviously he was also the top scorer in the first season when I got promoted, because he played as a striker a lot, and he's scoring all the free kicks and penalties. So yeah, I'm also attached to this guy, Emir Aksam, and soon he is now getting older, so he is dropping in skills. So retirement is getting closer. I like to imagine that he is doing a bunch of license courses, to become a good coach now. He's still getting a little bit of playtime, but not as much anymore. One day he'll be a decent coach while I'm like in the early stages of my cycle or something, hopefully.
But that's a nice thing, right? Because you get to use your imagination. Also, like, there's not a lot of updates, but you are playing this story in your imagination about him actually spending time off field, getting those licenses. I mean, that's pretty cool. And it feels sometimes when you see another skill drop, you start to feel bad for him. Oh no, he's getting old. At least I feel like that.
Yeah. So the final one that I have is on the very other end of the age spectrum. He's actually still in my academy. He's in the Guinean team. His name is Mamadou Amadou, which is beautiful. And he's a real talent. And I'm in touch with the national team and the under-21 trainer from Guinea. They actually reached out to me pretty early on to talk about him. And I will train him to be an IM for the under-21s and hopefully the national team one day. So I will actually, because he is so good and because there is another one that is just a few days younger and is also very good. He doesn't have a specialty, unfortunately, the second guy, but this made me excited enough to try the concept of a cycle, and I don't have enough money for this cycle to be successful. So I will hit the wall at some point. But because the team is also pretty young, right? I started this team a few weeks after the first one, so this is barely like half a year old. Fortunately, I trained wings, so I made some money. Now it all worked out with the timing. I actually get all the skill ups this week on Thursday. Then I will sell all of them and I will switch to IM training, and I can pull Mamadou, I think, on Saturday. So I'm actually right about to enter my first ever cycle, and I'm really excited about this. And I'm looking forward to seeing the journey that him and the other guy Koivogui are taking. And I'm talking to the coaches in Guinea to buy a third Guinean player as well for the cycle as a core trainee. But yeah, I still have to, make a proper cycle plan. I watched a bunch of Papa Mish videos,
Of course.
About the cycles and all of, but there are many ways in which you can actually be more flexible with them, right? So I don't have like a fully fleshed out plan yet. And I'm also happy to, view this cycle as a learning opportunity, and I will probably make mistakes. And it's, in a way, it is a bit relaxing to know that I don't have all the money to be successful in the end, probably. So there's not so much to lose.
Oh yeah, but you could take it as a learning experience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you have a nice plan B, because if you end up not being able to sustain a full squad, you could just focus on the national team prospect of those players.
Exactly. And that is kind of like what I'm going for, is at the very least I can sort of support the national team with at least one really cool player that I'm attached to, that feels good on its own already. And then I'll see how far the money reaches and when I will hit the wall, and that will be it. But that is totally fine.
Yeah, I must say, if you've watched the YouTube series, you've probably noticed that how Sanotti got to play a fair amount of matches in the under-21s.
Yeah.
And paying attention to the form updates for your potential national team players, that is something that makes me feel like I did back in the day when you didn't have training estimation tools, because for the skill ups, you pretty much know what is going to happen. But those form updates, man, it's the first thing you check in the morning. Because there's a match in the evening. Very cool.
This is actually a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, this will be super fun, because it'll be like the very good old days of Hattrick. So
that's so cool. I'm glad you're bringing this up, because it reminds me, this was actually one of the things that I was a little bit disappointed with also when I got back into the game. I now, back in the days, I used to use Hattrick Organizer, and you got a sense of, okay, now I kind of know what is going to happen, but you don't have certainty, right? Because the organizer is not perfect. It doesn't know the decimals, depending on how many games you've had with a player. So it was still a little bit exciting. And I don't know, having to use this external tool actually kind of made it more exciting for me, not knowing exactly what the ratings will be. That made it more exciting for me. So when I got back into it, I was a little bit disappointed that I could now I just know what my ratings will be, and I know when the skill ups will be. It takes a little bit of the excitement away, I think.
It does. It takes away the mystery. But that's also a problem nowadays that wasn't such a problem back then, because you could often argue that games get solved even like from data mining or whatever. Yeah. And people are always trying to optimize rather than just experiencing the game. Yeah. Oh, my player, he actually popped. Yeah. I mean, but that's like a consequence of the world we live in nowadays. I think
the like best games, they are able to let players optimize without optimizing the fun out of the game, but it's something that is very, very hard.
It is.
And I say this as someone that has a tendency to optimize things and then notice that I'm not having fun anymore,
Yeah. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. And I also sometimes I feel like people are asking, "Are you going to play this?" And I'm like, "No, because I can't go all in because I don't have the time, and I probably I'll get tired because I'm not in the same sense of flow anymore because I'm an adult, right? At least I say so. But I still have the feeling like, I'm not going to do it because I can't go all in anyway. I mean, but remembering and taking a step away from that with at least a few of the teams, like my cycle in San Marino is basically a little like what you describe with the national team players, because I also wanted to try to document what it could be like not having like the agreed upon amount to start a cycle. You often hear like you need 50 million euros, more or less, right? And I was like, I have 20, but I'm in San Marino and I have a very nice player. And if things fail, which they probably will at some point, I will just try to see how good of a carrier I can give Zanotti instead, if that's the case. But I'll be trying it out and we'll see. It's also to give the YouTube series, like, you don't know a certain destination for that series, right? Because it could take a turn. And I'm also just trying out without, like, Zanotti has a nice spec for an inner midfielder, but the two other core homegrown players from that cycle, Camellini and Francioni, they don't have a spec. Most people tend to say, you can't do it without the money, you can't do it without the specs, it's not going to work. Let's see how far we can take it. That's just as much fun for me. So that's kind of my approach with the whole series. And so you've touched a bit on your approaches. So you are kind of doing the golden generation, some national team, club cycle approach. What about the third team? Are you just planning to have fun with because you could actually just try to have fun? I'm just kidding, but it sounds silly, right? Because
to me.
but you need, that's sometimes when we made a division in the Hattrick International. We play with the international teams, and I'm like, what's the plan about that team? Oh, it's just to have fun. Oh yeah, but aren't you having fun with your other teams? I don't know.
This may be a good reminder why we're playing the game, sometimes. I don't know yet exactly. I think part of why I created the team was because I know that sometimes it can take a long time until you get the right combination of youth players to start a cycle. So I thought if I have two teams, this other team is also in Switzerland, and I kind of want my main cycle to be in Switzerland. I thought if I have two teams, I just have a better chance at having a good youth combination at some point, and maybe I will have to wait 1 or 2 years less until I actually start the cycle. So the team is now, but then I also even there are elements of I'm not fully optimizing this, because I think if I were to actually fully optimize it, I would have also gone for wing training, because I think it's quite clearly the most profitable one in the beginning at the very least. And I think actually even if you have quite some money, it is still obviously except for skill trading stuff.
Set pieces and goalkeepers, but I guess you would need some cash in order to get that going.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I was sort of assuming like a low to moderate budget at the most. And And so I actually ended up going for defense training just because I wanted something else. I didn't want to train wing also in the second team. And I was like, this, I don't know, it feels exciting to build a bunch of defenders, and we'll see. It's maybe not, I will lose a couple 100,000 probably because I'm doing that rather than wing. But this is the level of optimization where I think it's more about the diversity and the fun than about optimizing the last few 100K. And if these 100Ks are going to make the difference between reaching the top division at some point or not, then I am happy. That's fine with me.
Yeah, makes good sense.
Yeah. But yeah, so to answer the question, for now, it's kind of a waiting stage. I'm just training a little bit of defense. And once the players reach the stage where I feel like it's best to sell them, I will see and evaluate, maybe find a new training. It's a little bit like my first team, like the Team Scream one, except that because I train wing there, I am more flexible with the formations, and I really like that. So with this first team, I feel like I can actually be a little bit competitive. And with buying like very cheap old center mids, I actually get to have a lot of fun with the actual games already while I'm in the profit making stage. So and currently I'm top of my division, still very low. It's the 6th division, but it's exciting. It's really cool to see the audience come to the stadium. The stadium is almost full and everything, and like being top of the league, even if I'm not going to be at the end of the season, it feels really nice.
Yeah, well, it is nice. I mean, I'm slowly starting to be, or at least feel a little more competitive at least with the Danish team, because there are more divisions. So I don't, like in San Marino, you get to play quite strong teams quite fast in the cup. So it feels a little tough. I have to start winning games and actually slowly move up the leagues now. And it's exciting because you have to spend some time trying to figure out ways to beat managers who are not optimized in the same way, spending more than they should in Division 5, for instance. And that's actually a challenge, and it's actually making it quite fun. Even though you still have to try to make a lot of money, but you have to not just make profit and wait, but you actually have to balance a little performance while also trying to make the most of the regular money making.
Yeah, that's a great stage to be in, I think. Out of curiosity, how far into the cycle are you there?
My core players are 23 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm actually sacrificing training slots for the wingers. So the core wingers play in the league matches most often, and then they get playmaking training in the friendlies. So I don't utilize the winger slots in the league.
Yeah, I see.
And then I train wingbacks 50%, potentially 66% when I can utilize extra training.
Yeah.
But the team in San Marino is now playing 2-5-3 because passing training. So things are getting tougher, which is fine because it's also about challenging yourself in some way.
Yeah, those are cool trade-offs that you have to make this actual meaningful decisions on. So that's great.
And all of a sudden, you have to really start thinking, now I have to progress through the league system. Right now, I have 6 core players, like 6 of the players for the final squad. And you have to make it as far as possible as well, because starting to miss out on promotions, you are missing out on the final year of competitiveness. So it's getting, not yet, but it's starting to get a little nerve-wracking because now you actually have to perform. But last year, I finished second in my first year in the 5th division while having the 4th average team and the 5th strongest top rating team in my league. So I did pretty well tactically to beat my opponents last season. And that feels great. Even though I didn't win the league, I didn't really have a chance against the strongest outfit in the league.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it felt pretty good.
Yeah, this actually sounds very similar to how my team is set up at the moment. I think I am 4th or 5th in terms of wages or TSI, but currently I'm actually top of the league, but I will not be top of the league by the end, but maybe I can shoot for second, which that would feel great to outcompete some of the teams that are spending a lot more. To be fair, I think one or two of them are actually in a cycle and they're not trying. So I think they are like last or second to last or so, because they are at the stage in their cycle where they're really just sacrificing the games, but they have high wages and TSI already. Okay. So these are a little bit harder to easier to outcompete, obviously. But Yeah.
Yeah, but they'll be there in due time.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm actually scared that next year they will they will start to be competitive.
Oh, okay. That's going to be an eye opener, perhaps.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you take part in the Swiss community?
Not really.
No.
I wish I did, but it is also partially because I don't know what the community really is. I'm sometimes browsing the forum a little bit, and I'm following some of the stuff that's being written there, but it doesn't seem like it's very active. Maybe parts of this is because people are often using the German forum as well, because it's the same written language, at least. I don't know. I did ask in the forum actually if there has been a meetup recently or if people are still doing some of the meetups that I read about. And there were a few responses. People were like, no, nothing is really happening at the moment. 3 or 4 people said they would also be excited to join. But no one had the time to organize anything, obviously, right? That is
Yeah, it's quite
sort
common.
of the main bottleneck is probably
Yeah.
someone actually has to take the time and effort to coordinate, and it's not that easy to coordinate, right? And you don't know any of the people often, or you only know 1 or 2 of them in person. So I understand why few people have the time, but I know that there used to be these annual meetups where they actually had a little football tournament as well. And I wish something like this, maybe one day they will organize it again. Maybe one day I have enough time to help organize something. Who knows? Because I do think I would really enjoy occasionally just chatting a little bit with people about the game. Maybe sometimes drinking a beer at a pub. And watching one of the games on our phones or whatever, I don't know, but just spending a tiny little bit of time in actual real life would be nice. Because currently I am mostly just telling my girlfriend about everything when I'm excited, and she is very, very nice and tolerable about it, but she is not into it.
All I can say is I've been to a few minor get-togethers since I started 2022. And it's just amazing to feel how easily a bunch of Hattrick managers will naturally start conversation and have a good time talking about this thing that we have in common.
Yeah.
Because it's just unbelievable. And then all of a sudden you talk to some person who knows about what a Titanic player is. And it's cool. Oh, yeah. And the first meetup I went to after returning, I showed my keeper. I sold the keeper for 7 million right out of the academy, right? And he was actually adjusted from a higher price. I was showing the player to the other guys, and I'm like, yeah, but you can't finish him. Oh yeah, I can, because I know the sub levels. I know the sub skills of this guy. And one of the guys just said, well, that's the best keeper we've ever seen in the academy. And I was like, what?
What skills did he have?
He was excellent defending and solid passing, unpredictable, and passable set pieces.
Oh, wow.
And he's now being trained as a keeper. Unpredictable keeper, yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And, yeah, being able to just pull this guy out from the academy, like, yeah, I think I'm having a good time already with my team. And I didn't even have 3 scouts when I pulled him. I was like it was a little filthy. It was a filthy scouts call, but it felt good for sure.
And so how did that work? Someone paid like over market level and then it got adjusted downwards, or how did that work out?
People were very interested in claiming this player, of course. Yeah, I think they just looked at the tendencies in the market and they decided to adjust it towards more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought this is something they would only do if they thought there was like abuse, or like people were actually.
I actually reported it myself because it was like more than 10 million euros for a youth player. I was like, let's just do this by the book, and I reported it myself, and they were like, it might a little too much, so it was adjusted to 7 million. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah,
we probably can't wish for a better head start for trying to accumulate some money for your cycle, but that was a pretty good pull. So I'm still following him to see, like, he played on the under-21s, of course, and he's I think he's 24 now, so
that's really cool. I'm also I've like bookmarked all of the youth players that I've pulled and sold, and actually at the moment I still basically go and watch every single week, which is a bit insane. but it is nice to follow the players that you've had in your academy. This is something I enjoy a lot as well.
Yeah, to see how will their adventure be, even though you couldn't train them. I wasn't ready to sacrifice all to train him for the national team myself, because I had only just returned to the game, and I need to win before. Actually, I'm training a national team player in one of my other teams, also to try something else rather than having 3 cycles going at the same time.
Yeah.
So I pulled a very talented player as well, and I'm hoping to train him all the way to the national team as well.
Ah, cool. Which national team is this for?
Denmark.
Ah, that is Denmark. Okay, nice.
Yeah,
cool.
We just won a silver medal.
Oh, nice.
We lost the final against Belgium in extra time. Yeah, it was a devastating blow. But from what I've heard, the team is stronger this next coming campaign, so you'll be watching us.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Do you follow the national teams of Switzerland closely, or
on and off a little bit? Sometimes I do, but then I forget about it again. I think I'm curious because it's interesting to see the tactics that are being used, and I'm like, obviously I support Switzerland,
Of course.
But I think this is a part of the game that I'm currently not as attached to, because I don't know anyone anyone who has a player in the national team. I don't know the coaches. I have never interacted with any of the people that are involved there. I haven't really seen a lot of forum-like threads. I think actually in the Guinean community, the national coach is doing a great job at, writing a little bit of a preview before each game and then explaining why he went for a certain formation, etc. And this made me follow it, I think, more than I am following the Swiss team at the moment. Maybe there are also threads about this in the forum, and I just haven't found them. I think maybe as I go through the leagues and the cycles, I will get a little bit more attached to that part as well. But yeah, it's currently not something that I'm following very heavily. I am following the Masters usually.
Yeah.
This I find quite exciting. Yeah, but maybe it's also partially because I can't relate to the difficulties and challenges that national team coaches have. I simply don't know, what are how is it to have a national team with all of these amazing players? How do you think about the lineups and the many things are quite different, right? With the no man marking, I don't even know how confidence works. I know that
it works with the old system. So you would get more of a hard update after each game, like you used to in the club system.
Right.
And you don't have loyalty as well. So that's also a reason why training national team players, you have to train them beyond what you would for club level, for the performance aspect. But I can tell you one thing. The next planned episode with Ragnar, I'll tease it here, is actually about why training or managing national teams is also a great thing in Hattrick. So once I get to record that episode with Ragnar and produce it, obviously, there might be some insights in what it takes to perform in that Hattrick arena. And I can certainly say for myself, having trained now a few under 21 players, there's, at least when communities are fairly open and they communicate about what's going on, partly about selection, but that can also, you have to be a little secretive at times as well. But also about the lineup selection. It certainly feels like a very big multiplayer world all of a sudden, because the national teams become a result of a very targeted community effort, right? Because it's so much more than just a national team coach. It's a bunch of scouts. There's a lot of trainers, and there's even beyond just the players being selected. There's also all of the players who may not get to play, amazing players. And how do you reward them? How do you keep them interested? And it's just such a different Hattrick experience, right? So all I can say is look forward to having some national under 21 / national team prospects in your team, because it is a different taste.
I'm definitely looking forward. Yeah. And the upcoming episode sounds exciting. I'm definitely gonna tune in.
I've had an episode with another former GM now. Ragnar has since become a GM, but that's not the idea of the next coming episode. Time flies when you're having fun. But I have a final question here, Tiuan. If there's one thing that you could change in Hattrick, what would it be?
Oh, yeah. It's a good question, and I don't think I have like a great answer to it. I think in an abstract sense, it would be something, and this goes back to our discussion about the cycles and the way formations are linked to training, or position is linked to training. It would be something in this area, just to make sure that people who are trying to be successful can also still, during those 1 or 2 years in the early stages of their cycle, they can also still try to win the games. I think this for me would be the main, and this obviously is because it is something that will happen to me at some point, right? As I will start the cycles, and I am dreading, this moment when I basically have to go like, yeah, I can't actually try to win the game. I just have to play this formation. So it would be something in this area. It's not a very specific thing, but this is something I wish can be addressed in some way.
It's hard to find a specific thing. Just do like this, and then you will have a better game, because it's a fairly complex world. And
yeah, and I think this is also a credit to the HTs, because if there were easy things to suggest that just make the game better in an obvious way, they would not be doing a great job. But I think they're doing a pretty good job. So
I saw a thread about someone suggesting that there should be like this AI driven tool that you could interact with and chat with. And I was actually I did write in the forum thread that I was against it, because I think what the purpose of this game, perhaps other than winning and all that, like serious talk about not having fun and all that, should be to drive some more human interactions. So I would like, I would actually like Hattrick or the HTs to perhaps rethink or redesign the whole mentor system, because I am signed up as a mentor and I get picked out and I write a welcome message and ask a few questions. I like to always start out by asking the new managers questions, and sometimes I see people that don't even read the mail. They don't ever actually log back into Hattrick, and I'm like, why did you choose a mentor then if you're not even going to log in? So I would love to see an upgrade or a reimagination of what the mentor system should be, because
that's a great point, I think. And actually, I think the whole new user experience in general, and the mentorship is part of that, but I think the new user experience in general maybe could be improved. And again, this is something I don't have great suggestions for. But I noticed that when I came back into the game itself actually did not do a great job at explaining me what I should do. It did tell me a little bit about the different formations, and I do appreciate the system with the things that are happening every other day. You get a new defender, then you get a wing back, then you get the IM, etc., and then you get the skill up, etc. I think it's a good way of slowly communicating some of the things, but many of the key elements I think are never really explained in a straightforward way, like just how important it is to do training. It's like I knew this because I'd already played Hattrick before, but actually many of the things, the really critical things about how the game works, I learned because I watched some YouTube videos, some of yours, right? Or some of Papa Mish or some other content creator. And I think it's not great if, as a new user, one of the first things that you have to do if you want to be a little bit serious about the game is you have to go outside of the game and watch videos that people are creating there, right? It's fine if it's about like really optimizing, the cycles. That's not something I think you have to explain to a new user. This is something they will maybe develop an interest in, and then they can go look it up. But
that's also a product of the way people approach the game nowadays, and not necessarily a way the game was intended to be played. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, but I felt that some of the key things were not straightforwardly explained, and I think it leads to. I mean, I see it even in my leagues. People are playing very suboptimally for like not very good reasons sometimes, and I am actually sometimes I was inclined to just message them, hey, instead of using 3 inner center backs, use 2 wing backs. It's almost always better than just like the 3-5-2 with the 3. But how am I going to beat them if I do that?
Yeah, exactly. But then I didn't tell him because I still have to play against them.
Yeah, that's a balance, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there are some things that are not entirely intuitive about Hattrick, which is normal. That is totally normal for a game. It doesn't always reflect real life football, and that is completely fine. But in those areas, sometimes I think the manual or just the way the game is designed doesn't do a great job at communicating how it is different from how we intuitively think a managing game would work.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit more guidance for new players there would be amazing. Keep them a bit more engaged in the beginning, hopefully.
Makes sense. I think perhaps Hattrick should do a better job of actually rewarding the good mentors somehow. And now I'm just saying somehow because I don't have an exact answer, but also keeping them interested in trying to help newcomers into the game, because we also need we need new players in order to sustain the game and keep having fun. And in some countries, it's very hard to find mentors. And I think I might be advocating more for such a thing in the future, because
it's a good idea.
I'm a mentor myself, but I don't have too many slots because I spent enough time on Hattrick as it is already. But I love to help new people into the game and answer questions. So hopefully there's more like-minded people. There usually are. If you see people ask questions, you see a lot of people answering those questions to the best of their ability. So all in all, I feel like we have a very helpful community. So that's certainly something we could improve with the help of the Hattrickers. Yeah. All right, Tiuan, would you like to add anything before we end our little talk here about Hattrick Life as a relative newcomer to the game?
Not much, I think. No, I've talked enough, I think. This is already very long.
Yeah,
but it was great to chat. I think, I want to say thanks again for the content that you provide. It really did help me ease my way back into the game. Get a sense of what I should do in the first few weeks. So I really appreciated that, and I'm sure other people feel the same. Yeah,
it's my pleasure to make that content and hopefully help more people into the game. And on that note, I just want to wish you all the best of luck with those newly promoted players in just a few days, because that's great timing. I mean, that must be exciting.
Yeah, thanks. I am very excited. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to follow those players as well, because I will have to bookmark a few of them and keep track of how it's going.
Yeah, and after this discussion, maybe I will actually write. I have a bit more drive and motivation to write a bunch of press releases. Maybe I can, craft a bit more of a narrative there as well. Get myself to write a bunch of releases. I think that would be nice.
And do yourself a favor. Do flesh out the training plan, at least for the under 21s, like those seasons, because that'll be helpful. And then you could always reevaluate once you've seen how the under 21s adventure goes. Yeah. But having just at least a few seasons fleshed out is definitely a good thing, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But you are already talking to the scouts, so
exactly.
I'm thinking you are having a good amount of human interaction about those players, which is one of the cool things about the game, right?
Yes, totally.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking part. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Likewise.